I'm Robb Dehney, and I pray that the Hoos prove me wrong at the Belk Bowl. I don't think they can get it done.
I'm Ean Greenberg, and UVA will beat South Carolina.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Who You Got. I'm Robb Dehney, joined by my friend and colleague Ean Greenberg, and we're here in Scott Stadium. We are jazzed up about the Belk Bowl. It'll be played December 29th between your UVA Cavaliers and the South Carolina Gamecocks. It's bound to be a good one. I'm ready to get into it, start talking about the action, and you think the Cavaliers have enough to get this thing done?
So I think it starts off with the loss of Deebo Samuels for the South Carolina offense. I think Samuels is clearly their most explosive player, and I think the loss of him will have a huge detriment on their offense because he's an 800-yard receiver, 11 touchdowns already this season, and against a very formidable UVA defensive backs with Bryce Hall, Juan Thornhill. I think it will be a real struggle for South Carolina to get throwing the ball. When you have, they do have some production in Brian Edwards, who's an 800-yard receiver, but after that you have Shee Smith, who's about 600 yards, and then it really drops off after that when the next best receiver has 15 receptions on the season. So I think that is something that is really going to hurt the South Carolina offense, and I'm not sure if they can recover from that.
Well, let me say the Deebo conversation is a fascinating one and a debate that we could have at any time, whether putting himself over the team, what message that sends to the other guys in the locker room. But he has been an often injured player, and that's allowed other guys such as Edwards and Smith to step up in big opportunities. Now, they do not have any opportunity, in my opinion. I agree with you that our defensive secondary is going to be lights out. Bryce Hall and company are going to show up in this game. Do not get me wrong. But there are four different rushers have taken the ball more than 10 times in the course of the season for the Gamecocks that all have a higher yards per carry than Jordan Ellis, our lead back here at UVA. You look in the records, both 7 and 5 for both the Cavaliers and for the Gamecocks, but two very different 7 and 5 seasons. I haven't seen anything from UVA that shows they're going to be able to compete with a team that has only lost to top 25 opponents, and that's exactly what Will Muschamp's Gamecock squad has done in 2018.
So I do agree with you on that. I think, we saw the Pitt game especially, UVA's defensive line was weak in the rushing game. And in terms of the schedule, I think you look at South Carolina, who they played so far this season, and in the wins, not against top 25 opponents, I think they played down to some of the teams they played. You have Tennessee, Ole Miss, Mizzou, all games that were decided by 4 points or less, and those are not teams that really stand out much. So I think with the fact that South Carolina plays down to some of their opponents, and the fact that UVA, this is one of their biggest games in recent memory. They're, playing in a bowl game against an SEC opponent. I think they'll be really ready to go, and I think South Carolina might not take the Hoos as seriously.
If we want to talk about close games, though, all I can point to is the UVA Cavaliers' 1-3 record in games decided by less than a touchdown. And a lot of those have been heartbreakers late in bigger games. Got the win against Miami. That was crucial, but we've seen it now 2 straight weeks in a row. UVA does not get the job done when it comes time for crunch time. Heartbreakers both to the Pittsburgh Panthers, another strong running team, by the way, and to rival Virginia Tech in a game that we were actually favored to see the Cavaliers win. That hasn't been the case in a long time. It's been since 2003. If there was a game for this team to get up for, you'd think, of all games, the Virginia Tech game would get some blood pumping for these fellas. And they didn't get it done, and they didn't hold on to the ball. We've seen it. Bryce Perkins in losses has yet to exceed a 75% quarterback rating. He fumbles the ball way too much. He doesn't throw with enough efficiency. The completion percentage isn't where it needs to be, and I think there's some discomfort between Perkins and also with Coach Bronco Mendenhall, who has not utilized his running back Jordan Ellis nearly enough. We've seen that because in the past month of November, Ellis had 25 carries versus Liberty. Other than that, he did not exceed 12. There's a reason why the Hoos lost every other game that they played in the month of November. Use your horses. Trust your guys. That was the case throughout the first half of the season, but we just haven't seen it. And that's a big part of why this team hasn't shown an ability to get it done in close games. I agree with you that the loss of Deebo is going to be crucial for South Carolina. That's going to make this a close game. But what have you seen? I've seen nothing. I have seen absolutely nothing that indicates to me that this Cavaliers team is ready and able to take advantage of a close game and actually come away with the W.
So I think that is definitely something to look out for. See Broncos coaching. You talk about Jordan Ellis and that game against Liberty, the one game they won in November when he ran the ball 25 times. UVA so far this season, when Jordan Ellis has 15 or more carries, they are 6-0. When he has less than 15, they're 1-5.
The fact of the matter is this. We could sit here and play armchair quarterback until we are blue in the face. And I'll tell you what, it's a little bit chilly, so that might not take too long. But Bronco's going to have his hands full. Will Muschamp hasn't lost a bowl game in the 3 years that he's been head coach of South Carolina. And I'm excited to see it unfold. I hope you're right, buddy. I hope you're right.
I hope so as well.
Thanks for watching. That's it for the inaugural edition of Who You Got.